Elphaba, Mama Rose, Tevye, Hamilton, the Sharks, the Dream Girls, the entire cast of Into the Woods. These are examples of characters written for musical theater that we just can't help but find compelling. Some of these characters are so compelling that their stories keep getting revived every decade or so on Broadway, or they just run for so long on Broadway that they become a staple, a pillar. And other of these characters are so interesting, intriguing, intoxicating that they've entered a kind of mythos in the musical theater canon. This has garnered these characters with labels like iconic, or powerhouse, or dream role. But what is it that makes a character so compelling? How does a character come to life in such a large and interesting way that we just can't help but find them and their stories so freaking interesting? And what can you do to write characters that make the audience lean in and beg for more? Let's break it down. First and foremost, I do just want to say here that all characters that you write in musical theater do deserve the time, attention, and care to be interesting people, interesting characters. Like, not just the ones that become iconic, but all characters you write. Don't leave anyone in the dust, please. Musical theater thrives on emotionally rich and relatable characters to pull us into the stories, capture our attention, and make us care about what's happening on stage. You can see across the entire canon, all of the shows that are particularly good, particularly interesting, particularly high quality, do have these kinds of characters. Because let's be real, if the audience is not invested in your characters, they're not gonna really care about the journey or the rest of what your show has going on. So unless a character is meant to be boring, which is a thing that happens occasionally, then otherwise we need to make these characters, all of our characters, interesting. The main thing we want to do with our characters is to provide engagement for the audience. Much of this is done through what we call character development. Now this often begins with some sort of introductory material, often in an opening sequence, and then begins to deepen through what we call the character establishment moment. You may be familiar with the idea of a character establishment song, or something called the I Want song, or the I Am song. But then, once a character is introduced to us and established, they then have to go through a journey of some sort in order to grow, to evolve, to change. This is character development. Because let's be real, at the heart of a story, of any compelling character, there is going to be a journey that needs to be set upon. The characters want something, or they need something, and they've got to go after it. Whether you're following a hero's journey, a classical 3-act structure, or even if it is a concept musical, all of these characters will have a journey of some sort headed toward an objective, an end of some sort. Along the way, they're going to encounter all sorts of things that are going to change them in various ways as they are moving closer to their goal, even if it doesn't feel like they're moving closer to their goal. This is a large part of character development. We peel back layers, we see what's underneath, we see how they react to the world around them, and we see how it affects their journey getting to what they want. Now, the lovely thing about musical theater is that we have more than just the words at our disposal. We've got words, yes, but we've got lyrics, which are a certain type of word structure, and on top of that we've got music and movement. We have so many wonderful tools right there for us in order to create characters that feel rich and pull us in. Now, I know that all that feels relatively basic. You're probably thinking, Michael, we knew these things. Yes, but here's the biggest problem I see for musical theater writers when it comes to creating compelling characters. Y'all, you don't go far enough or deep enough to make those characters truly pop. I think we all know how to avoid one-dimensional characters, people who feel truly cardboard or like a trope of some variety. But the problem is, a lot of writers will get to the point where they've created a two-dimensional character and feel like it's three-dimensional, or feel like they don't know how to go past 2 dimensions to 3, and that's where they get stuck. And then at this point, the question comes up of, what am I missing? What do I write in, or what do I add? Why don't they feel like real people yet? Here are the elements that are going to make up a character that feels three-dimensional. First and foremost, they do have to have crystal clear goals. Yes, Michael, you already mentioned goals. But the thing about the goals is they have to be the thing that are driving the action for these characters. Because let's be real, humans don't do anything, and I mean anything, unless they want to. Therefore, these goals have to be tied to a desire of some sort. And even when we're talking about a need, so let's not get stuck in the thought of, well, if my character needs something, obviously they're gonna go on the journey, because that will feel begrudging. Is it interesting to watch a begrudging character journey? Not particularly. What we want is to watch someone want something and go after it. Want something, Robert. Want something. Yes, I'm quoting company. Get off my back. Here's a big one where I see writers stumble down, and that is giving their characters imperfections. My friends, I know we want our heroes, our protagonists, to be these like perfect people because we want everyone to like them and to get on board with them and to sit happily on the little roller coaster that is our show. But people without flaws are not relatable, and they're actually uninteresting. Creating characters that feel complex, that feel layered, that feel like they can make the right choice, but they can also make the wrong choice, that is extremely relatable for an audience. The more that humans, us in the audience, can see ourselves in the humans on stage and see that, yeah, okay, maybe I wouldn't have made that choice, but I see why they did, that's going to be far more interesting than having them make all the right choices the whole time and have zero flaws. Now, we already talked about development, growth, change, but here's a big thing that we need to constantly keep in mind, which is from the beginning of a show to the end of a show, these compelling characters will go through some sort of transformation. It's not enough to kind of go from point A to point D. No, that's not transformation. Is that growth? Sure. Is that movement? Sure. But the ones that really capture us, they are transformed by their stories. We go from A all the way to Z. Who knows? Maybe we go past Z. What's past Z? Now, I know this one is going to feel a little bit obvious to a lot of you, but please do make sure that your characters have a unique voice unto themselves in the way that they speak, the kinds of words they use as they sing, and the music that they sing. Because no one else in your show should really sing the same way that they do, but also we want to be differentiating all of our characters anyway. So if your character sounds cookie cutter, sounds like some other character you know, sounds like anyone else, that's not going to be compelling for the audience. Now, this is a spot where I see writers fall down a lot. But I will say, this is easier to do in revision. During your first draft stages, get it out, give them personalities, absolutely. But then, that's when we really want to hone in to making them so individual in their voices, is in revision. If you like talking about this stuff, we talk about this all the time, like in real time throughout the Musical Theater Writing Collective, in our labs, which happen every other week, as well as the courses I teach, especially the Musical Theater Writing Workshop course, the Flagship course. If this is work you'd like to do and conversations you'd like to have in a warm and welcoming community with like-minded peers, then check out the community and the courses, and if you're interested, apply. Love to have a conversation with you. There are links in the description below. Now, at the top of this video, I mentioned 4 very specific characters: Elphaba, Mama Rose, Tevye, and Alexander Hamilton. If you look at each of their specific journeys, they do include all of these elements. Do each of them have a clear goal, a desire, a want? Yes. Now, the fun thing here that adds to the complexity, to the layers, is that what they think they want is going to change. They start the show thinking they want one thing, and then another thing, and then another thing, and another thing, but underneath all of that is a main driving desire, a driving goal. And we get to watch them go through this process of thinking they want this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and we know the truth, and that's interesting. Now, are any of those characters completely without flaws? No, they're all flawed. I mean, this is what's so interesting and compelling, is we know that they are flawed people, and still, we want to see how it all turns out. We want to watch them go through the journey. We want to watch them make mistakes, because we don't want to make the mistakes. We'd rather watch them make the mistakes. Far safer. Every single one of them goes through a transformation throughout their journey. I think the one who goes through the least transformation across their story is probably Mama Rose of these 4. But even so, you watch Rose's turn and you tell me she didn't get transformed. through this story. And the other main reason I brought up these 4 characters specifically is because we're talking about 4 extremely unique voices musically, lyrically, and in dialogue in the musical theater canon. Alphaba, Mama Rose, Tevye, and Alexander Hamilton are probably 4 of the most iconic roles that exist. We love these stories. And obviously a major part of the toolkit here in creating compelling characters is going to be creating that character establishment song that really captures us to begin with and pulls us in. And honestly, they're tricky to get right. So if you want to learn more about character establishment songs, then you should watch this video next. Otherwise, thank you all for being here with me today, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers!